So, the new LEGO Batman game was recently announced, and seeing this got me feeling pretty nostalgic. So I decided to take a trip down memory lane and revisit and make a video on LEGO Batman 3, but with a twist. And I thought it would only be fitting to see if I could complete a story mode using only Batman villains, which means I lose out on a bunch of abilities that you would normally have access to. Seems simple enough, right? Well, let's find out. Level 1 started with me spawning in with the most iconic Batman villain, the Joker.
Officer Bowles.
And wandering around like an idiot for a while, because keep in mind I haven't played these games in a while, and low-key, I forgot how to complete each level. After struggling for a bit,
Okay. But am I on fentanyl?
I quickly ran into the first major issue, which was not having the Sucky Suck ability, which is only available to Robin. Although I quickly realized I could just skip this part by flying ahead in the level. Next, to progress the level I needed a villain that had detective mode, and pretty quickly I realized that Deathstroke and many others did, so that wouldn't be an issue going forward in the challenge. As mentioned before, Robin's Sucky Suck suit, or better known actually as the Hazard suit, was needed lots in this level to get through the toxic waste. Luckily I had the Joker who could just stroll right on through. After doing all of that, you finally get to the last part of the level, which is a Killer Croc boss fight. However, I quickly realized this was going to be an issue, because in order to beat this level, you have to use Robin's ability suit.
Oh, but this is gonna be so difficult. Fuck.
And obviously, I can't use Robin. So I wandered around aimlessly trying to see if there was some way I could glitch the level to beat it, but there was nothing. Then, I tried to see who else had the ability. It turns out the only other person who does it is Lex Luthor. And obviously, he is not a Batman villain. Or is he? Now, before I get yelled at in the comments, he most definitely isn't. But this is my video, and I don't want it to end in 3 minutes. So this is the one loophole I will be using the whole video. And that loophole is, in Joshua Williams' Batman run, in issue 199, Batman meets Lex Luthor in prison, with no other heroes in sight. So bam, Lex is technically a Batman villain. So this leads me to use Lex Luthor, somewhat regretfully, to beat the level. The next level, Breaking Bats, involves you trying to stop a Batman that is under the mind control of Brainiac. Immediately, at the start of the level, I have to use Deathstroke as a substitute for Robin to go up and hit Batman to progress the level. Once you hit Batman, he moves to another spot where you have to hit him again. The issue was that in order to be able to reach him, a technology section that only Robin could do was required. And I was once again worried that the challenge was going to end due to Robin. Then I realized I was just being stupid and could fly up.
Yes!
Then after some hacking from Deathstroke and the use of Joker's light suit, we were through to the next section. The next section was where we had our second large roadblock. As I mentioned before, this level has loads of Robin techno spots which can only be accessed by him or Lex Luthor. So after a while of trying to find a workaround, I gave in and used everybody's favorite Batman villain, Lex Luthor. Which then let me shoot at the Batmobile. Okay. Which you have to do 2 more times during the level. The first time caused me no issues. However, the cutscene to give you the opportunity to shoot Batman the 3rd time does not activate unless you do 2 things which require Lex Luthor. So you can guess exactly what I did. Once all of that's done, you shoot at Batman, and then he gets out of the Batmobile and turns into a giant man made of bat, which you have to beat to complete the mission. Nothing difficult happened here, so let's just move on to the next level. Level 3 is called Spacesuit You Sir, and as you're preparing the Bat Rocket to go to the Watchtower in space to help the Justice League. And the game splits this into 3 parts: attaching the cockpit, refueling, and getting the tip.
What do you mean by that?
In order to get to the cockpit, I'd use Lex Luthor at a drone station, then blow up a silver brick with the Joker, and then grapple up to do some hacking. And that's the first part done. Nice and easy. I went ahead and skipped all of the stuff you're meant to do with Batman by flying over to the next part of the objective, which is the refueling. Now, in order to do the refueling, you need to do a puzzle that requires extra vision. But I was very worried, because in that moment, the only people who I could think of who had the ability was Martian Manhunter, Superman, and Batman. And obviously, I can't use any of them. So after looking at the character menu, I noticed someone who I thought was just a Superman variant, called Composite Superman. But after a little Google search, I realized he was indeed a Batman villain. And the challenge was saved. So I went and completed the puzzle, which led to the jet being refueled, After that, I went ahead and skipped even more of the level, lasered open a golden wall, which led me to build something so that I had to hack with Deathstroke, and then finally, it allowed me to place a tip from the bat rocket. Once you take it to space, there is a spaceship section which is kind of boring and tedious, but after completing it, you fight your way into the watchtower. For the most part, it's just silver and gold bricks, but there is one speed section that you need to do. And if you didn't know, speed sections can only be used by speedsters. Knowing this, my heart dropped for a second. But then I remembered all Superman variants of speedsters, so I hopped on Confident Superman, who was quickly becoming a favorite of mine, and completed the mission. Right? Annie, oh my god, we're still in it. And Lex Luthor, we're going with it, is technically a Batman. I realized as I was editing this, I forgot to include like the last 5 minutes of the level in the script, but nothing really happened. It wasn't that important, so yeah, you're gonna have to go without it, unfortunately. And I don't know why I sound like this in every clip. Like, it's tragic. Yes. The next level starts you off in a mini boss fight with Firefly, where there's a speed pad which I activated with Composite Superman. The speed pad builds a water gun that you have to spray Firefly with in order to move on. In the next room you have an encounter with Cheetah, where you have to switch between your characters to get hits on her. After hitting her enough, she hops onto a laser made of gold bricks and shoots it at you. The laser is meant to be deflected by a shield character. However, at the time I couldn't think of any shield characters, so I cheesed it and used Competent Superman's laser eye to blow up the laser. Then I went ahead and finished the fight. The next part of the mission has you chasing Killer Croc and Solomon Grundy by elevator. In order to activate the elevator, I had to use a big fig to destroy the wall and then laser it open to find a panel which I needed Lex Luthor for. After using Lex, the elevator activates and you ride up. In this part, Solomon Grundy is hiding in a crate which you have to laser open. Once you do that, it automatically turns you into Cyborg for a quick time event in his Big Fig mode. However, I'm not counting this as a player switch, since this is a cutscene and all you do is you spam random buttons. You do the same thing one more time for Killer Croc, and then head to the final part of the level, a fight with Joker and Lex Luthor. By this point, my knowledge of what villains could do what was pretty extensive, so I got past everything they threw at me with ease. And then I sentenced Joker and Lex to death by electric chair. Next mission was titled The Big Grapple, and I actually have no clue why. But never mind that. The mission starts you off trapped in a bubble made by Green Lantern, and in order to free myself, I had to find a way to mind control the janitor to set me free. Luckily, the way you do this is by using a combo of Joke's abilities like magnetism and mind control. Once the janitor is mind controlled, you get to make him do some random ass hacking bullshit, which my brain struggled to comprehend. But once I completed it and skipped a boring ass cutscene, we were on to part 2 of the level, which involved getting freaky with a bunch of tentacles.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Then the level got pretty easy, because almost everything I could do with Composite Superman. Until the final section, where I figured out that Killer Croc could walk on the bottom water, which I kept in mind for later. Then I had to do multiple Lex Luthor techno sections, because the development team couldn't think of any better ways I could have done something here. Then I had to grapple Brainiac ship. And as writing this, I realized why it's called Big Grapple. Anyway, next level. Level 6 was on Brainiac's ship, and it started off extremely easy for me, because I basically just flew past everything without actually having to do any of the puzzles. The only thing I had to do was this shield section, but after that, it sent me straight to the Brainiac boss fight. Now this is where I had my first big scare of the run, because in this section, no matter what, you spawn in as Robin, and only have access to the cast of characters in the story mode. Luckily, that involves Solomon Grundy. And although you have the ability to switch to Solomon Grundy, he can't do any actions apart from running around. At first I tried switching to Grundy and letting the AI Robin kill all the minions, but I remember that the AI in this game can't actually kill minions, so I had basically given up. Felt very defeated. But whilst I was running around aimlessly with no hope, I accidentally pushed the enemy off the map and caused them to die. And I realized that Grundy could just walk into the enemies and push them off to their death, and that's exactly what I did. Although it took way longer than it should have, I managed to stop Brainiac and get to the Skyfall section of the game, which obviously there was no issue with.
Yeah.
The next level is called Europe Against It. Haha, funny pun. You guys get it? Anyway, it has you playing on a Europe that's been shrunk by Brainiac. This level to me is one of the easiest. This is because in the level, Brainiac destroys loads of bridges and things, which you are meant to find workarounds for to get to him. However, I didn't feel like doing any of that, so I flew past and skipped basically half of the level, apart from a couple things. A lot of the next levels for me went like this because I was at a point where I knew exactly who I needed for each section. Anyway, back to the level. So after skipping half the level, I got to another Brainiac boss fight. The cycle of the boss fight is this. He enlarges stuff, he is shrunk, and throws it at you, and when it breaks you have to build it, and reflect his shrinking / enlarging beam back at it. After you do this 3 times, you beat the mission. This was definitely the easiest mission so far for me. So, on to the next one. Level 8. We are officially halfway through the game, and have beat everything that's been chucked our way so far. Level 8 is based in Gotham, and starts off with us having to suck up colored bricks with Lex Luthor, our favorite Batman villain. Anyway, once we suck up the things with Lex Luthor, a tub of waste can be built, and we launch it at Brainiac with a big fig. After that, we switch over to the Joker and the Flash, who are the original characters of this level. So obviously we had to switch off the Flash. This part of the level was obviously going to be pretty easy because it's meant for the Joker. So it started off with me having to use the Joker on an electrical panel in order to break a theme park ride and build it into one of those places where you have to use a character with a sphere ability. So obviously we used the Joker there again. This activates a thing we haven't actually seen in the game so far, a wall jump section. Luckily, Batman has many villains who are acrobats. I decided to use the X-Boy Wonder Red Hood, and then immediately switched off him because apart from that he's useless and we would never use him again. After that, there were mandatory speed sections since this is also a Flash level, so I switched over to our only speedster, Composite Superman, then ran on the speed treadmill, and then built a giant roller coaster which the Joker activated to launch the carts of Brainiac. And that concluded that stage of the mission. The next part of the level was extremely boring and easy since it was built for Batman villains like Solomon Grundy. So I was speeding through it until I got to this water section where I was stuck. You see, what you're meant to do in this actual level is use Robin's scuba suit to drop down and then laser open the gold bricks. However, I didn't have access to Robin for obvious reasons. So for a while I was sitting there not knowing what to do. I was even considering trying to work Black Manta into this and call him a Batman villain. But luckily we didn't have to do that. Because I found out you can switch to Killer Croc and go underwater. And if you switch to another character, they still stay under the water. So once I was underwater, I switched to Firefly to laze the bricks and Catwoman to do the digging. After that we hit Brainiac out the sky again, which segued us over to the final part of the level, another Brainiac boss fight, which I was seriously getting tired of. Like, you have all these different DC characters at your disposal, and you make me fight Brainiac. Not 1, not 2, but 3 times. Like, seriously. Using my annoyance as fuel, I defeated Brainiac with no issues, and completed the level. This is the first mission that involves us having to go save each of the Lantern Corps, and I've got to say, it's pretty anticlimactic. Because it's one of those levels where you could just skip everything by flying. That's exactly what I did. Skipped every puzzle possible till I got to the final boss fight of the level, which just had me build a bunch of things to help defeat it. Next level! Now we are entering the final stretch of the game in this challenge, and I like to call this part Glitches Galore, because in these final levels, so many of them required the Green Lantern to beat the level, and I can't use his ass, so we had to find so many workarounds. Level 10 is called a Blue Hook, and you guessed it, it's a mission where you save the Blue Lantern. The level starts off with a random spaceship section, but after you beat the objectives, you land on this jungle-like planet. Within the first minutes of this planet, I encountered the first issue, a Martian Manhunter portal, which only Martian Manhunter can go through. Not wanting this run to end, I tried to fly past this section of the level, but there were so many invisible walls that were stopping me. But I continued to try to get past for ages, until eventually, I gave in and used the first glitch of this challenge, which is actually a level skip used in speedrunning. And well, just roll the clip.
Oh, just come here. Yes! Yes! Yes!
Thanks, my friends. The Blue Lantern.
Yes! Come on, we're still in it.
Compared to the shenanigans I pulled last level, level 11 was a very tame and chill level, which I got through normally and it caused me absolutely no issues. And I mean none, like I didn't even have to stop and think once, how do I do this? It literally just felt like playing a normal story mission. So I can confidently say this was the easiest mission of the challenge. So, I beat the boss, next level. Immediately, as I spawned into level 12, I dug up a Green Lantern usage point. So you know what that means? Glitch time! I had to glitch under the map using the same technique as last time. Once I was under, I flew under the door and came back out. Although, watching back, I could have saved myself a lot of trouble by just simply skipping until the end. Either way, I had to do a shield section with the Penguin, and then it wanted me to do more Green Lantern stuff, so I obviously skipped that. Then, whatever this is happened.
Jesus Christ, don't be...
And I made it past the door into the next section, which I used Firefly to skip most of, then used Solomon Grundy and Catwoman to gain access to the boss fight. Which was a very boring boss fight. All you had to do was repeatedly dodge the bull, and then hop on its back, blow it up, fight off some Red Lantern goons, and rinse and repeat that 3 times. I will say, replaying through this game has reminded me how bad the boss fights were compared to other LEGO games. This, hands down, has to be some of the worst boss fights in the series. And I'm talking the whole LEGO series. Anyway, as I was saying, after rinsing and repeating, we beat the Red Lantern and moved on to the Orange Lantern. Level 13 is called Need for Greed, and it drops you right in. Your objective is to get inside the Orange Lantern's hideout to defeat him. In order to do this, you have to destroy some overgrown flowers. The first 2 are super easy. All you have to do is fly to them, then use someone with a grapple, in my case it was the Joker, to pull them off the wall. However, I shortly encountered an issue, which was the only way to get rid of the last flower was by using Green Lantern's powers. And I can't do that, so I had to pull out the glitches. Now, the first glitch I tried for almost 30 minutes, but I just could not get it to work. So we moved on to plan B, which actually required me to shrink myself in the extra settings. And yes, I am allowing that. Anyway, whilst I was in the shrunken state, I glitched under the map again. And I had to blindly navigate my way around until I was just below the doors that were keeping me out. Then I had to do a little jiggy before hitting the cutscene. Once I was inside the second room, I actually had to play the game as intended, which had me do some weird ass color memory game twice. And I sucked at it, and it took me 1 too many tries. Then, it caused the doors to open. After that, I was at the boss fight of the level. The boss fight was pretty simple. I beat up the Orange Lantern until he turned into a freaky glowing version of himself, then wait till he gives you something to build and use against him, so I can hit him again. And that's what I did over and over again, until I got him to his final stage. And then, he dropped a Green Lantern power station. But I didn't give up hope, because I thought I could find some type of glitch to avoid this. And I scoured the internet, man. I looked everywhere, I looked at every speedrun thing, but I couldn't find anything. This was really as far as I could make it. And unfortunately, this is where the challenge came to an end. So, can you beat LEGO Batman 3 with only Batman villains? No, absolutely not. In order to make it past the first level, you have to consider Lex Luthor a Batman villain. But if you do that, you can make it pretty far with bugs and glitches. If you would like me to attempt a similar challenge on another LEGO game, or something like that, you can let me know by liking and subbing,